All right, gonna test out the whatever the hell. Let's see if this works. So I'm gonna see if I can figure out how to code. I don't know what I'm doing, and yeah, I've been watching this guy Maxim Ivanov. Maxim Maxim Ivanov. He's super duper fast. I can barely keep up with this guy, but he's showing me how to make Swagger documentation. So I've been working on this program here a little bit, and so I'm gonna show you what I'm looking at. This is the tutorial. It's Node.js Swagger API documentation. Just to let you know, I tried to follow along in the API that he built. He made this books API, and it is not working for me. So I'm just using my own API project, which is called Offdog. So I don't really know exactly what I want to do next here. If I'm going to keep watching this video and then try to follow along with it. Here's what I've got so far, though. Is this. I've got the creating new user API. So you can actually use one of my API endpoints here with this request body thing. So I think the next step for me to do is to actually just wire up the next call on users. And I also have this stupid test. This is the stupid test. If you try it out, it will say hello to you. You know what? Hang on. Let me do this. I need to actually nodemon. All right. And let's try that one more time. Execute this stupid test. And there it is. It responded hello. Okay. So Offdog is my pet project. It is it's basically, let me just make sure OBS is showing this right. Okay. So it's just this API that will let you create these users and passwords. And then you get the last logon, the created at, updated at, fields, and an auto incrementing ID. This is a SQLite database. Yeah, that's what it does. So looking in here, you can see the project. This is V1 API. And I guess I don't really need to specify that's the API endpoint, so it's kind of apparent. But here's the Swagger stuff. So all of this comment is basically showing, it's like creating this whole Swagger UI. And so I want to basically copy this in for my create new user, and I want to add it to the authenticate a user. And I'm going to do this right here. Authenticate a user is a get. I don't know if it really should be, but it is. Like I said, I don't really know what I'm doing here. Authenticates a username and password match the database. It's under the users tag that will let it be nested under a grouping on the Swagger UI. This will say authenticate the user the username and password are valid. Request body. So let's take a look. What does this do with the body? It grabs a username and a password from the body, which is the same really as creating. It's the same as creating a user. So I think I've already got the request body. Just by copy and pasting this, it's already good to go. But what are the responses I can give? I don't really catch anything as far as server errors on that. I probably should, but I don't. I send back a 400 or 401. And what this means is that successfully authenticated a user. And this one is I failed to authenticate a user. Userer. Failed to authenticate a user. Either password, username and password do not match. No, that's not right. Like username and password are username and or password are invalid. That's probably good. So that's really all that it does. It when you hit the authenticated user endpoint, we get an asynchronous request. It comes in. We're gonna grab username and password out of the request body. The user will be set to if we can find the username, right? And then if the user exists and the user password is equal to the password in the body, the request body, we'll send a 200 response back. Otherwise, we're going to send a 401 response. So if the user isn't in the database, or if the user is in the database and the password doesn't match, then yeah, we send a 401. Just like it is described in the Swagger documentation. So let's save it and check out when I refresh this Swagger UI. Bloop. Oh, there it is. Beautiful. Look, under users. Okay. And I'm going to also update this default thing. This is going to be something that I want to mess with. I'll do that in a second, but let me try to authenticate a user. So real quick, let's pull back the database and just take a peek inside of there. So let's just look at my user. Kenny Cash Money. Password is ASDF. Let's test it. So, back on the Swagger docs, I'll go over here and basically I should just be able to enter this into the request body. I'll say Kenny, oh, I have to try it out. Kenny Cash Money, ASDF. Let's execute the call. And what's the response? Failed to fetch. Request get head method cannot have a body. That's what I thought. You know, Postman will let me frickin' do that. But okay, let's try to fix it. So going back to VS Code, let's try to fix it. So let's turn this to a post. Let's turn this to a post. Is there anything wrong with this? I don't think I need to actually do anything else there. And let's change this one also. Let's do tags. How do I do multiple tags in here? Name and description. What if I just... I don't even know if this is how you're supposed to do it, but what if I just do, like, test whatever description. Is this thing on? Question mark. And then I'll put into this one at the bottom, I'll call it tags. Test whatever. I don't know if that's gonna work, but let's see what happens when we do that. And refresh. Holy shnikes. What just happened? Anyway, users is grouped properly. Users is grouped properly. And authenticate a user is a post. And if I try it out, Kenny Cash Money, and the password is ASDF, execute, and what's the response? Response is 200. Okay, what if I change it to be a bad password? Execute. Unauthorized, 401. Cool. That's working. So now I gotta figure out how do I do like multiple tags, and I'm gonna ask ChatGPT on that one, I think. Let's see. What the hell is it called? In the Swagger tags, how do I specify multiple tags in Swagger comment? Oh, here's ChatGPT. Hey, how do I specify multiple tags in Swagger comments? I'll copy and paste this. Oops, you'll probably want to see this right here. I'm going to copy and paste this into ChatGPT. Like, I tried to make two different tags, users and test whatever, but the test whatever did not come out correctly. What am I doing wrong? Let's see. You're using incorrect YAML syntax for defining multiple tags. Each tag should be defined as a separate object within the array. Here's the correct YAML syntax to define two different tags. Users and testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I think I know what to do. So let's go back to VS Code. I'm gonna do dash, and I'm gonna call this actually testing, 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to update tags should be actually an array. So let's redo this and say no. Testing 1, 2, 3. Save it. And now when I go back to my Swagger and I refresh, boom! Oh my god. Okay, look, beautiful. All right, so here it is. We got functioning create a user. me just make sure this is still working. Try it out. I'm going to make a new user. Let's call it streamer. And I don't know what I'm doing. And execute. And look at this, beautiful. We got the 201 response created. And if I pull up VS Code and check on the database and refresh it, I've got the new record created in the database. Okay. Yeah. So at this point, I don't really know what to do next. I have successfully created Swagger documentation. So I'm actually going to commit this real quick. Git add, git commit dash m, got the Swagger documentation finished. Boom. Restart the virtual server. Okay, what's next? So I have to figure out how to catch encrypted credentials. I don't really need to log the request or any of this stuff. I was troubleshooting. I don't think I actually need any of this. I saved this because this is where in the request headers authorization, I think that's where you get, I actually don't know what I'm doing with that. I'm just gonna delete that because I don't remember why I did that. All right, boom. I don't really know. I've got Swagger documentation. So really with Swagger, it's about adding these components in the commentary sections of your work. And then it allows you to basically render the page that we were using where you can test out your API. So, I don't know. That's maybe my first video. If you want to see what else this does, this is what it does. I was trying to write it in TypeScript. I don't really totally know what to do in TypeScript. I'm not good enough at this to actually know how to use the strict typing. So, but basically it is a thing that imports in some different libraries. We will grab a port off of an environment variable in the .env file, port 5000. I guess I should just say for 5000 would probably be good code to write there. And then it does cross-origin reference. I had originally built this API as a authentication service for a to-do list application that I was making. And I was trying to figure out how to save usernames and passwords so you could show different to-do lists to different users. And I was running it on localhost 3000. I don't know if this one is necessary. I just added this in here because I was getting some compilation errors when I was trying to run my Swagger update. But I think that was actually something else that was causing the problem. So I don't know. Let's see what happens if I cut this out and save. Let's take a look at the Swagger again, and let's run the test. That way we don't mess with the database at all. But let's just run the test, because if this CORS needs to be allowing 5000, which it's not a cross origin, it's running on 5000, so I don't think it's necessary. Let me try it out. Yeah, see, it wasn't necessary actually. So cut out some unnecessary code. This I'm actually just gonna put in a comment. This is for the to-do app that runs on 3000 in dev. This is the router for my V1 app, API. Swagger options. Yes, this is actually garbage code. I don't need this anymore. This is my good options object. And what this does is it basically specifies some of the basic formatting for the Swagger docs. So it creates this thing. The specs is this. I don't really know what is this. It's an object. I don't really know a whole lot about what happens behind the scenes on that. But then it sets in this middleware where if you hit the API docs route, it does the Swagger UI serve and the Swagger UI setup using the specs. So it's an object that's based on this kind of input object. And then this is the listener for the port. So it's a very simple application. That's really all there is. This is my TypeScript version. And the biggest issue that I was having with getting it to run in TypeScript is that TypeScript kind of gets mad about this statement, the require for the models folder. And the models folder is what contains the models for the Sequelize ORM. In other words, the schemas for my database. I don't know how to specify the type or get that fixed. And look, even JavaScript is kind of thinks that's not cool. I don't know. Oh wait, this is the TypeScript file. Never mind. But I mean, look, in here in index.js, it doesn't require. It's like, why don't you make this an ES module? I totally don't understand what ES modules are. I get it that it's kind of an upgrade to JavaScript where instead of this require thing, you use the word import instead. And it has a functionality called tree shaking, which is supposed to be cool. I don't get it. I don't know what that really does, other than it's sort of is supposed to optimize compilation or something like that. And in package.json, you have to add type is set to module. And then sometimes you have to do MJS extension as instead of .js. I don't know. I need to figure out how to learn about this stuff effectively. Right now I'm just kind of stabbing in the dark and not really knowing what the hell I'm doing. So, I don't know. Is that enough for today? Let me actually just this, save all and commit. And then I'll say, I don't know, a little bit of cleanup. Right. And, oh, what's this? More cleanup. Okay, and then I'm gonna just upload these to GitHub. GitHub. Booyah, did it. And if we hop over to my GitHub account and refresh, boom, I've got some little doodads on here. Let's check out the auth dog. And auth dog is looking good. If I check in the routes and v1, It's got all the Swagger stuff in it. Beautiful. So there you go. That is how you use Open API, Swagger UI. God help me. Trying to figure out how to make OBS record my audio. Yeah. I don't know. I think that's going to be it for this video. So, off to a rough start, but I'm going to keep on doing this. I want to just learn how to code with the help of my good friend ChatGPT live on YouTube. And hopefully it's entertaining or useful to someone. Otherwise, I'm just talking to myself here in my office. So, with that, I bid you adieu, and good day.